Hello, hello YouTube friends. I'm back. I'm back. I will upload this on BitChute as well. BitChute friends, probably the same as YouTube. I have accumulated a couple of strikes, so I wasn't allowed to post. So now I got to keep my pie hole shut on some of the things that are considered to be medical misinformation. I never have claimed to be a medical expert, so I'm going to just, for the time being, I'm going to stop talking about, the sea, because I kind of enjoy the ability to communicate with a few people over this platform. And if they do shut me down, they shut me down. I mean, there are plenty of videos that, based on what they struck me on, I think there's other stuff they could just say, okay, we don't want this guy anymore. We're fed up with you contrarians. I think I could be considered a contrarian within the scheme of things of their understanding. But today I'm going to restrict myself to talking about State of the Union, the world, the situation as I understand it. And yeah, I had my coffee and had visits from the nieces, and the state of the world is fine here. It's going quite well. That is not to say the larger picture from what I gather, from what I am, the information that is coming at me from several platforms, what is the interweb, as Viva Frei likes to call them. I like the guy. Viva Frei is like on top of stuff. He was on the ground as well during the convoy in Ottawa, so he's someone that isn't just blabbering. He's someone that has actually left his couch and has gone into the domain, into the fray. Viva Frei has gone into the fray. Frei is actually the word free. Yeah, I think his full name is Freeland. So anyway, I like the guy. He was reporting today. I'm going to make my YouTube, basically the videos, the small following I have. It's not so much for me to get tons of views and all that, because that's never going to happen for whatever reason. But it is, for my satisfaction, a sense of responsibility exercised by not withdrawing into a shell, or live in a bubble of a make-believe world. I think this is something that many people withdraw from the world, because somewhere I have this notion that people deep down all know. It's called a conscience. I bring this up quite a bit, this aspect to our nature. Even the most egregious psychotic types also know when they've done something wrong. They hide, they scurry the boat, they muddy the waters. Some may say, well, that is the psychotic part, that they don't know right from wrong, they're just acting the way they feel like it. I beg to differ. I think the conscience is a universal aspect. I think it would be very rare that this human trait would not be present, even in the most degenerates, who have to cloak and hide all their activities, unless they're complete, total, utter tyrants, and like an Akhenaten type who can basically subjugate, his empire subjugates everything and everyone. At that point, I guess there is, I don't know what that would be, like a cycle waiting for the Akhenaten types. They keep coming over and over. When you look at Egyptian history, apparently, whatever truth there is in that kind of history, how like 40 dynasties, and they just keep on reproducing themselves and creating the mucky fuck, the mayhem in the social order, in the sense of individual freedom. People who have a birth, all people are born free, as far as I'm concerned. There is no higher authority than that, which is that authority that has invented birth, has invented life, Even I would go so far as to say existence itself is what is the prerequisite to existence is some form of enormous, incredible omnipotence that has uh, outranks everything that you can have a rank and get a medal and get a stripe for. There is nothing with more stripes than this omnipotence that is at the core of existence itself and life, definitely, I would say. So the idea of abdicating that kind of control on anyone else is contrary to what some might call natural law. The natural law inherently provides every individual that is born with complete and total autonomy and freedom. And then we choose, of course. We make choices, and those choices are, we answer for the choices that we make. But until there is a transgression in some form or other, also guided by conscience, natural law, if you want to call it that. And people may argue, they say, no, it's like all learned, everything is learned. That argument works up to a point, because when you hit conscience, at whichever point that part, that aspect of us comes to the foreground, is at 8 years old, 15 years old, 20, some people never comes to the foreground, but exists. It's inherent. It was a gift. It was given. It was given because we have choice. Sounds biblical. Anyway, my thoughts today, and I'm going to, because YouTube is so terrified of anyone having an opinion on certain subjects, apparently having an opinion on how governments are transgressing in other ways than the big C. Apparently, I think from what I'm judging, other people talking, like Viva Frei is allowed to talk about what has just occurred today, the re-imprisonment of Tamara Lich. I think Lich might come from a German background. Lich is pronounced Lich. They keep having problems with Lich. Licht. I'm not sure. I think it's a German name. And she's part native. She's Métis, as far as I know. And I'd like to say to the native community, Aboriginal community of Canada, where the hell are you? Where the hell are you, you vocal people about non-ceded territories and all this kind of stuff, which is apparently being allowed as well by the government to stand up in front of the government and say, you are actually you're trespassing on our territory. This is what they say every time, the unceded territory. Unless I'm missing something, we're all transgressing against a fundamental law of ownership of some kind, unceded territory. It's kind of peculiar where that native community is in terms of Tamara Lich. I don't know which. Anyway, you know who I'm talking about. The one of the people who was deemed to be an organizer of the Freedom Convoy, and clearly people were not organized. There were no organizers in that sense. People of their own free will attended this humongous gathering all across Canada on bridges and everywhere, and she's been found in breach of her bail conditions. So where is the native community to stand up for her? I don't understand that. Never mind the native community, the entire family of all the people of conscience in Canada should be supporting this woman. She has been accused of something, and there has not been a trial, but they've managed to incarcerate her, which is an outrage, just even from the point of view that, historically speaking, precedent-wise, people don't get thrown in jail necessarily for what are called mischief. Okay, and I talked to a lawyer friend of mine who said, well, mischief can be really nasty. Well, within the scheme of things, her mischief is not one of those things where anyone was hurt. There was no property damage, quite the contrary. During this convoy, people were very conscious of not breaking things. It was not unruly in that sense, but she's been reincarcerated, thrown in jail. She's been found to have breached her conditions. And as Viva Frei has said, that if they can't get you on substance, they're going to get you on the procedural things. And apparently, this outrageous judgment by this judge, who said that she could be possibly thrown in jail for 10 years for the breach of terms on the bail condition. This is phenomenal to me. If they can't get you on the actual substance, which is going to likely be thrown out of court, they're going to make sure they get you on the procedural aspects of it. And looking at weighing this issue in real time, real life issue of Mischief, where no one was really hurt. I'm saying no one was really hurt because there may have been somebody that couldn't cross the street because trucks were parked, possibly. I don't know, but is that a hurt? There has to be a balance, a reason applied here. But it's so clearly, as people have commented, a political sentence against a person who disagrees with the government. And I disagree. I am in disagreement with the way government has handled the last 2.5 years, 100%. And I'm being also targeted by YouTube. And it's not the first time. I'm very vocal and active on the egregious misdeeds by the nuclear cartel. Their toxic energy is destroying and killing. And unfortunately, or fortunately, this is something we cannot see because, like the sea, it's an invisible atom. It's an invisible particle that is being created by these people. They're splitting the atom. They never asked us, really. They just kind of bulldozed this whole idea after whatever. When they discovered it, they said, "Hey, this is neat. Let's figure out how we can make a buck on this, I guess." More sinister, let's see how toxic we can make a planet. And the Earth that we're living on so many levels, is toxifying. The balance is leaving, not only physically, but emotionally, like we see today in the justice system. And we have people across the ocean, in the Netherlands. The protests are incredible, not being reported. The protests are locking down highways. Farmers are in such an outrage over the irrational decrees that are coming down from the owners through their minions, like prime ministers. We are progressing, as far as I can tell, from in that macro picture, which is also unfortunately reflected in the micro picture, the toxicity in relationships and with people and behaviors, but not so much on a local level. I must say, I'm not finding that egregious transgression in a personal sense. Locally, I'm not seeing that yet. That doesn't mean it can't happen, because if the macro picture, which is being instigated in areas of control and contrivance from very elite people, meaning very few people who have enormous amount of influence on the way, whether we vote for someone or not, a government does what the hell it wants. That's what it looks like now, and you can throw innocent people in jail. You haven't tried them. You create, as I say, procedures that are impossible to comply with, even if you're trying, and then you get the consequences is sort of what we joke about North Korea and people who have been dominated for decades by ruthless tyrants. And unfortunately, these people probably don't even know the difference between being slaves subject to tyrannies. It's like when you're born into it, you may begin to forget what it's like to have freedom. And we still remember. We're fortunate. Canada is very fortunate. We remember what it's like to be able to walk or drive somewhere or travel somewhere, which is being restricted now. It's all very systematic. This whole thing has become very systematic. We can feel people who speak out Uh, my small voice is being muzzled by this platform, and was before as well. There were initiatives to get me to stop to talk and appear at events that I joined, and it was very clear there were concerted efforts that to stop whatever it is that I was doing, because obviously I presented not just my opinion, but I presented a clear and present threat, or someone perceived me to be a threat, which is phenomenal, because I just have ideas and opinions. I'm a painter. I make paintings, and I like expressing those opinions. And I think it's important for people, few people that listen. I think you understand that it's important to continue to present opposition to all the things that are wrong. And I'm not declaring how to do that. I'm just saying it's important to take a position. Like mentally, I'm saying it's really important to have in your mind the ideas that are wholesome and balanced. You cannot pretend to yourself that within your silence that, oh, really, I'm for the good of things, but I don't really want to think about it. No, it doesn't work that way. You have to think about it and then proceed into the real world to the extent that you feel you're called to do. I've talked about the idea of callings in different aspects of our life, that it's easily understood when you're committed to an activity that is perceived from the outside as being wholly futile, like making paintings and expecting people to appreciate or like them, and when they don't, or it's difficult to take care of yourself and continue no matter what. This is a calling. I've accepted this. I have accepted this from the point of view that I'm not going to go and be bitter about the fact that people ignore the paintings I made. And critics may say, well, it's just stupid. It's shit. It's like from a big picture art, it's like meaningless and shit. Critics may say this, or maybe they don't even bother looking, because the entire art world is populated by people that are promoted for whatever reason. And if you don't have that promotion, your art isn't even shit. It never gets noticed. It's just ignored. Anyway, that's a sideline. I'm not interested in talking about that. What I think I'm saying today, it's very important to maintain a level of community through thought. Thought is essential in creating action, but there is no wholesome action with irrational thinking. So the point is to develop a way of thought and thinking that is not a regurgitation. That is something that happens from within. That is something where I say to myself, this makes a lot of sense. And people that have an opinion, that believe themselves to be in balance with their ideas, it's really important to trace where that idea comes from. Did it come from something that you are accepting from an external source, or is it something that comes up from within? And even when it comes from within, it may be, I ask myself this, it may be based on a fear, for example. And then that opinion or idea or thought is going to be tarnished. There's going to be a problem with that, because it cannot emerge out of a fear, especially in the solitariness of your own process of being by yourself and reflecting and thinking about stuff. It cannot come out of fear, because if you're reflecting in fear, it's going to have a very unpleasant, it's going to be an unpleasant result. So when I say, people say, well, it's just your opinion or it's my opinion. True, but what is the root? Where does that originate? Where does that thought, where does that opinion that I have, where does it originate? Does it come out of a regurgitation? Am I just picking up the flag of some other nation and waving it? Or is it my own flag? Is it that flag that makes sense? And there are many people that feel the same way I do. So there is a clan There's a clan of wholesome, thoughtful people out there that I associate myself with, to listen to, understand, endorse, all those kind of things. So, in a way, when I speak about this, when I think about this, and how absolutely evident it now is that we're progressing very quickly toward a dark, unpleasant reality in terms of people just regurgitating the shit, the company line. People regurgitating the company line are going to end up in a very unpleasant world, like something that happened 80 years ago in a country where I come from, in Germany. My clan abdicated their responsibility en masse. I would say probably 90% of the people began to regurgitate the company line, and it ended in utter horror, misery, and destruction. And anywhere else, it doesn't just have to be Germany, where people begin to just regurgitate the company line. Thought is out the window, rational, balanced thought is out the window, but more importantly, like I always refer to as well, referencing conscience and our ability to be compassionate and care. We care about stuff. Ultimately, that balance is established in us really wanting things to be better because we care. And that gets thrown out the window when we just regurgitate the shit that we're told to regurgitate or think, like this judge obviously did. He's regurgitating the official company line that the convoy, this protest of truckers, was an illegal occupation, where there is absolutely zero fact behind calling it an illegal occupation. In this constitutional democracy, which is obviously extremely flawed, as I see it now, this constitution that we supposedly have does not protect people like Tamara Lich. It does not protect people that have an opposing view to the company line. And now we are being herded. We are being herded in a very narrow path. And the only people that are allowed to function on any level this path will become more narrow and more narrow. This is very obvious. What we've seen, and I will actually put a link, if you don't know Viva Frei, I will put a link under his analysis of today's events. And I think it's shocking, it's frightening, the extent to which we have actually, in a short period of time, less than probably 3 years, this program that we're on has been very successful. And so I'll end it here. My thought today is that, and I think I've said this before, that it's very important, it's crucial, to exercise our ability to reflect thoughtfully on ourselves, on the world out there, and come up with a conclusion that is based within us primarily. We are influenced, we receive information. I am very capable, decently capable, of distinguishing the shit that is being thrown at me, what is called disinformation. Yeah, you don't have to worry about me in terms of disinformation. I'll sort it out. When something doesn't make sense, my spidey senses go up and I say, this is full of shit. I'm not going to buy it. Like I'm not buying the seed. The same idea. When we understand that there is a problem, we don't know exactly the details of, but we sniff it out. This is something that comes with practice, that when we practice to reflect and think for ourselves, we can actually get very good at sniffing out the bullshit that we're told to chew on. We're told to chew on a plate of shit. We're supposed to eat a plate of shit that is being, and the slogans tell us it's cordon bleu. It's the greatest chef's plate ever produced, and it's actually shit. So I'm saying today, I'm allowed, YouTube is letting me, it's allowing me. I don't think I've contravened anything. I'm not giving any advice on any issue that is especially medical. No advice. I have no advice whatsoever. Um, but if this should go down, I guess you wouldn't hear. You'll never see this video if it gets taken down. But go to BitChute. I'll do it on BitChute as well. All the best to all my YouTube friends and BitChute friends.